Hello everyone. I'm sure that if you're clicking on this video you have seen the Grade A video on COVID, and if you haven't, I highly suggest that you go watch it because I don't think much of this video will make sense without it. And the video that he has made is very interesting in that he presents true premises, he presents true statistics, but he arrives at the wrong conclusions using them. Basically, everything that he says about his statistics are always overlooked by one detail that he forgot to mention. And I think it's a problem because people could look at his video and without realizing any criticisms that could be had with the video, they could automatically believe what he's saying, and I think that the ideas that he's presenting are truly not beneficial for society as a whole.
I feel like some people don't really know COVID at all.
This is absolutely true, and Grade is one of the people that just doesn't know enough about COVID. How do I know this? It's because of a couple of things that he forgets to mention. Grade forgets to mention the long-term effects that COVID has on a person who has had COVID. Grade forgets to mention the issues of hospitals being overcrowded. Grade forgets to mention that without public health measures, more people would have died from COVID. And I feel quite comfortable lumping Grade A in with people like Joe Biden.
Now we have over 120 million dead from COVID.
See? Don't know COVID at all. So I thought I'd help out, mate. Because we all want to defeat COVID, right? And to defeat your enemy, you must first know your enemy. So in order to fully...
The centerpiece of Grade A's video is a test group about approximately 37,000 people that he chose to be in this test group. It's a good number to pick, and it's quite clear at the end why he chose that number. However, we must first get to the end, and in that process we run into a lot of significant problems with Grade A's logic along the way. The first of which is about the kill rate of COVID.
So first of all, right, we need to know how many of our test group will die by finding out COVID's kill rate. COVID is deadly, Grade. Bet it's like 70% or something. Wrong.
This is true, it's not 70%. If it was, that'd be horrible. Could you imagine if millions of people died from COVID?
It's just over 2%. What? Yeah, mate. 220 million have gotten COVID with final outcome so far, of which over 215 million have survived.
Do you see the problem here? Because I do. I think it's quite normal to see almost 5 million people dying from COVID and having the reaction of, oh, that's terrible. We should probably take this COVID outbreak a little more seriously. It's no surprise why governments impose restrictions. It's to protect the population. I think Grade should at least mention in his video that if government restrictions were not in place, both total COVID cases and total deaths would be much higher. A quick search on the very professionally named DuckDuckGo on how many lives have COVID restrictions saved will give you a plethora of articles showing that yes, they have indeed saved lives. This one from NPR says that millions have been saved. Another one says that over 3 million have been saved from COVID in Europe. Another one says that additional restrictions in the US could have saved almost 250,000 lives. But hey, it has a 98% survival rate. Who cares if 5 million people die? Overpopulation is a problem anyway.
Which, if we apply to our simulation, that means that of our 37,594 people who we gave COVID, right, a grand total of 838 will die.
In Grade's scenario, 838 people will die. In addition, 4,651 people will also be hospitalized, including the aforementioned 838 people. The problem is that Grade forgets to mention the very real possibility that you could be hospitalized with COVID. Using the amount of hospitalizations in the US from the CDC website, I calculated the rate of hospitalizations in the US and applied that rate of 12.3% to Grade A's scenario. If I wanted to be accurate though, I should be using the rate of hospitalizations in Britain, where Grade is from, but that's more of a nitpick. I just assumed that the rate is around the same way I assume the death rate Grade presented is around the same in every country, give or take some. I would assume it's a little higher in underdeveloped countries due to lack of medical equipment and professional care staff. Hospitalization is no joke. In places where hospitals are at capacity, some people will not receive the care they need. This scenario has happened in places like rural Ohio and Alberta. Grade goes on to talk about how young people will not get killed because of COVID. Similar statistics show that young people don't go to hospitals like elders do, but they still do. A spot that a young person could take could block someone more at risk in the future, or it could be the other way around, where an elder can take the spot a young person might need. In either case, someone will be losing, and it will be a loss, as COVID can also infect people long-term as well as the short-term.
Count until I drop. 1, 2, 3.
COVID is deadly great. It kills people of all ages, young and old, equally and indiscriminately. Wrong! Because according to these death numbers from the CDC, combined with these numbers from the US Census, if you're over 45, you are literally 958 times more likely to die from COVID than someone under 18.
But you're still going to be spreading the COVID virus regardless. It doesn't matter if you're young or old. Being infected with COVID means that you're going to be transmitting it to other people. And knowing the age demographic of YouTube, and inferring that Grade's fan base is around the same, if not younger, that means us Zoomers are going to be spreading COVID to our parents, grandparents, or whoever else lives with us that is older. But it's a good thing for Grade that most of his viewers are young. It means less dislikes.
What? And if you're over 65, mate, you're almost 2,500 times more likely to die. Oh my God! Yeah, mate, COVID is an old people disease.
No, Grade, it is not an old people disease, because young people can still be affected in the long term because of COVID. Studies show that survivors of COVID have damage to heart tissue, scar tissues in the lung, and brain damage, which can lead to Parkinson's and Alzheimer's. This occurs in both young and old people, so it's rather silly to say that it's an old people's disease.
Only 3% of all COVID deaths are under 45. And 45 is not even that young in the first place. Simulation time! Which means that of our 838 that died from COVID, right? Unlucky boys. The amount that we would expect to be younger than 45 is just 25 of them.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. I love counting.
COVID is deadly good. 96%. Let's skip the foreplay, do you know what I mean?
If he just wants to get to the climax, I wonder how he deals with the ladies.
Listen, it was 99% overall, right? But for people under the age of 45 who died from COVID, 96% of them had some other serious underlying health condition. Yeah, rest in peace, you cunts. Listen, thus we get our conclusion from our simulation, mate. That for every 37,594 people who get the deadly COVID, the amount of people it would kill who are old as fuck and are already in shit health to begin with is 1!
And now we get to the reason why Grade picked that number. It's just because he wanted to say 1 in blank. It's a neat way of getting the number, but again, that's not the entire story about COVID. You can still land in a hospital if you catch COVID. You can still have long-term health effects from COVID. You can still spread COVID to other people, including those who are at risk. And then those people will spread COVID again, leading to a pandemic that has lasted 1.5 years as of the making of this video. And even then, there is a 1 in 37,594 chance that you will be kaput. But sure, that statistic is not bad. So let's open up our countries again, because young people won't die from it. Forget all of the other adverse effects that I just mentioned from it. The young people will be fine. Do you see the problem here? The main idea is that COVID still puts a burden on our society, even if it isn't as 70% deadly as Grade's imaginary friend says it is. And I hope that the facts that I have presented here are at least putting some doubt in your mind as to what Grade A is saying. If anyone does watch this video, at least. I'm just a guy with 50 subscribers making a video because, hey, I thought it would be interesting to talk about someone who's not exactly putting forward the best ideas.
Listen, COVID's been talked about like it's this deadly thing that wants to and will kill everybody, right? But after seeing these crap figures and specific demographics, I can't help but feel that there's been a lot of fear-mongering going on. Do you know what I mean? Like, don't get me wrong, right? Has it killed a lot of people? Absolutely. But is it an equal risk to everyone? Absolutely not.
If you defined risk as death, then what Grade is saying is absolutely true, but that's not the way you should be looking at the world. Like I said, in this entire video, for the past 10 minutes, there are more factors to consider. So when Grade says something like, you are at less of a risk because you're not sick or you're not old or whatever else, that's just simply not true. I won't say that it's a lie in bad conscience. I just think that Grade just doesn't know what he's talking about.
And it'd be a lie to say it is.
You really think that everyone who believes what I believe is a liar?
The Count.
This video's getting long enough as it is, right? But I hope it's helped you make your own decisions on COVID.
That's kind of funny. If you think that you made up your own decision based off of this video, then you really didn't make up your own decision. You're not as free thinking as you thought you were. But that's the irony here, isn't it, right? The same criticism can be applied to this video and can be applied to me. And can be even applied to my own searching and my own research. Maybe I'm free thinking, or maybe I'm not. Maybe Grade is thinking, and maybe he isn't. But I'm not here to talk about the philosophy of how thoughts are made, or how you came to think a certain way. That's a topic for another video. But for now, I just think that Grade is a little silly for saying something like that.
Video on vaccine soon.
Well, it better come soon, because I'm currently off break for my university. If you upload it next week, well then I'm not going to respond to it. Speaking of which, I'm going to get back to studying. Bye everyone.